welcome to our session on First Step, School to Training and Employment Program. We have a full schedule, so at this time I would like to turn it over to Mr. Dallas Burdick.
I'm sure we're standing in front of us.
We're blinded, right?
Yeah, right. So Eric told me how to do this, so we're going to try it out. And hit, move it back over and click on it. Where'd it go? F5.
F5.
Oh, you got it. Oh, there we are. I'll try not to stand behind this if that's all right. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you. Welcome to our session here today. My name is Dallas Burdick, and I'm the manager of organizational development and training at the Lansing Board of Water and Light. And we're going to tell you a little story about First Step today, which is our kind of a school to work program. It stands for School to Training and Employment Program, and it's sometimes the first job that these high school seniors have. And today with me, I have two of my partners that have been in on this project since the very beginning. Scott Miller from Lansing School District, and Scott's going to speak to you in a minute, and Teri Sand from Capital Area Michigan Works. And Teri handles all of the nitty-gritty stuff of interviewing and assessing the students as they come in. So they're great partners in this. You can see we have other partners as well. Our local International Brotherhood of Electric Workers, Local 352, is our union. And they support this program wholeheartedly. Their employees provide mentorship, and they've actually gave us 10 entry-level jobs from their ranks to put into this program. And then we work with the Lansing School District, the Waverly School District, which is just right outside of the Lansing School District, and then Lansing Community College is also a critical partner in this whole process. Before we get started, though, I have an assignment for you guys, okay? Did you come ready to do some homework or schoolwork? You can do it in class. I want you to study this chart for just about 30 seconds. Take a look at this. And it kind of paints a picture of what's going to happen in our organization anytime, like yesterday. 40% eligible for retirement, and if you look at the people over 40 in our organization, we're full of baby boomers. And those people are waiting, like many other companies around the state and the country, we're kind of all in the same boat. Take a look at that for just a couple seconds, and then I'm going to give you your assignment. Okay, here's your assignment. I want you to work with your neighbor, and if you don't have a neighbor right next to you, you have to work on your own, come up with it, that's okay. But you are your organization's weather person, okay? So imagine that. And based on the previous chart, what is your HR staffing forecast? I want you to jot down some notes and use meteorological terms. Okay, so I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to talk with your neighbor and just come up with something, because we're going to report on it. Your paper is due at the end of the session. have to focus on me instead of on your partner. Now, wasn't that neat? Did you notice the rush of creativity? All you guys wanted to be weather people. And we all started talking all at once, and there was this big excitement, and then it kind of tapered off. I knew you were getting done with your forecast, so. So I want to call on a few people to tell me, in meteorological terms, what's your staffing forecast look like for your organization? Anybody? Anybody have a? Anybody?
I said partly cloudy with a chance of retirement.
That's good. I like that.
I have incoming thunderstorms, foggy conditions, hot and humid, chance of twister. Going business.
Okay. Twister, everybody flying out the window. Right?
That's it.
Okay, we have one good
Okay.
one. Stormy with a good chance for tsunami.
I like that. Somewhere there had to be an earthquake.
Right.
So they opened up new retirement property in Florida. Anybody else?
A high pressure system is moving in.
Okay. You know, now what do you mean in the sense of high pressure? Because that usually brings
Pretty
good
good
weather.
one, but I'm thinking high pressure.
Okay. Okay.
Like
'Cause, okay, well, that's an interesting take on it, because really, there's a lot of opportunity in the utility industry and other industries, but this is the one I'm most familiar with. In the near future, there'll be a lot of opportunity. So that's kind of why we created this program, to help start feeding into the program some of the young people that maybe don't even know about these jobs. But at any rate, before I get into that, I want to thank you for your participation. We kind of looked at this chart that I showed you, and we thought, wow, this was like, 4 or 5 years ago, and we thought, wow, if that hits, we're in big trouble. So we have to do some things. We have to start creating some opportunities, internships, school to work programs, get some people involved in mentoring and succession planning and all those things. Then the recession came. So that's held all of us boomers off a little bit, from leaving the organization and going off and doing other things. So, but it's still looming out there. So I like your foggy analogy. It's a little foggy. When's it going to hit? But we know a storm is coming. So that's a great analogy. Let me tell you just a little bit about the Board of Water. I won't spend a whole lot of time on this, but I want you to know who we are so you have a frame of reference. We've been in business for 128 years serving Lansing and the greater Lansing area. We provide electric power to over 96,000 people. We provide water. It's conditioned water for over 54,000 people in the greater Lansing area. Those are our direct customers, plus we sell wholesale water, outside of the area too. So we provide steam heat to our downtown business district, and you'll see our new plant in a minute that's designed to do just that more efficiently. And chilled water service to 14 commercial customers. Commercial customers, I mean like the state of Michigan. Their complexes and that, so big customers. Now this is our latest and greatest. This is the Rio Tom plant in Lansing, and we just completed building this plant. It's a combined cycle cogeneration facility, so it produces electricity and steam. And in that plant, there are 2 huge jet engines. Okay, so if you go sit on a big jumbo jet out there, and you look out on the wings, you see those engines. That's what we're making power with now, and they're natural gas fed, so it's very clean, very efficient. It's a very cool facility. And these students, high school seniors now, they have the opportunity to see the inside workings of those plants, the latest and greatest technology. In fact, the technology spans from the 1960s until now, and really what's into the future for the smart grid. So it's a very interesting opportunity for these students. So that's a little about us. I'll tell you a little bit about how the program began. Back in 2007, I was asked by our executive team to go to a conference at Lansing Community College about work-based learning. And our commissioners and our executives knew that we had to do something to work in the community with our schools to help that whole process. So they asked me to go and just check this out, and I came back and told them about what I heard. So we created this program. Our executive team got fully behind it and have pushed this forward for the last 5 years. We're entering our 6th year. Now, it's a paid work-based, I should say we launched it in 2008, this paid work-based learning experience for students. And students are selected to work 20 hours in our organization, and they work a half of their school day. All right, they also get high school credits for this as well. So it's a program, and you'll hear from Scott in a minute, that we work with the schools very closely on in recruiting and bringing these students in, teaching them about our industry. They make $8 an hour, and 10 students are selected. Remember now, these are high school students that may have never worked before. Some may have worked, say, at McDonald's or something like that, and had some basic experience, but none of them have had any experience working in a power plant or a utility. So having said that, we don't put them right into operation. We bring them in at entry level and start teaching them the ropes about our industry. And then the students that successfully complete this program, meaning our program and their high school graduation requirements, receive a $1,500 scholarship to begin their education at Lansing Community College. Now I want to tell you about these jobs, and I said there were 10 jobs earlier, but we backed off of 2 jobs that really weren't working out too well in the situation, and now we have 8. So there are 8 positions, and the first position that I'll tell you about is coal cleaner, and that's a kind of interesting. Coal cleaner. How do you clean coal? Well, what it means is these young people go into our facility with a mentor, and they start in the morning and they clean the power plant from top to bottom, from the coal bunkers all the way down to the operating floor. They clean everything. Coal is combustible, and so we don't want any of that around our power plant, and so they get it out of there. And so that's what the coal cleaner does. Very important job, and I will tell you, they do a lot of sweeping. And well, what does that teach them? Well, I'll tell you right now that after about 35 years in our company, one of our senior executive people started out as a coal cleaner, and now he's a senior executive over production. So there's that opportunity, and it is what you make of it. Power plant helper, plant production helper, they also clean in our plants. That's a big thing for us, keeping our equipment clean and well maintained. They get to see the entire facility though, so they get to learn about what a turbine is. Okay, they get to learn about boilers, they get to learn about all the parts of a plant from the inside out. And then power plant operator D, that job is the very entry-level job into our power plant operator progression. And the power plant operator A will operate the entire facility. So that's an opportunity as well. We also bring students in at construction mechanic assistant, and they get to work in every facility in our complex. So we have quite a few departments and 3-4 major facilities in town, and so they get to see all of that. Equipment mechanic helper, they work in our fleet services area. They get to work on roughly 450 vehicles, all the way from lawnmowers, all the way up to those big boom trucks that you see out on the road, the bucket trucks that work on the high primary line. So they get to see how those work and get to help on repairing those. Now, water and steam labor, have you ever been driving in traffic, trying to get to work, and those guys with the cones and the barricades are up, and you're really, what did they have to do this morning? That's what these guys do. They're not there to disrupt your day, though. They really are there to keep our water mains, our fire hydrants, and everything operating properly, and they work on all that. And these students get a chance to be a part of that. Water production helper is a job in our water. We have 2 big water production plants. The downtown plant, which is on Cedar Street, and then our Wise Road plant, which is a little bit smaller. Nonetheless, these produce 10 million gallons of conditioned water in holding tanks that goes out to the city every day. And it's a constant operation, and our water has been rated in the nation in the top 5 consistently over the last, 10 years or so. So it's really good water, and they get a chance to see how all that's done. And then our stock distribution specialist, as you can imagine, there's tons of equipment purchased in our company. And these stock distribution specialists get to work in our warehousing facility. And so they get to learn about everything from ordering pencils to ordering parts for turbines and boilers and things like that. So that's quite a varying job too, and a wide range of assignments there. Now, just a couple of program stats. This is beginning our 6th year. And for the first 5 years, we've successfully completed 57 students through this program. And you can see the third bullet there. We've awarded over $85,000 in scholarships to these students. And I'm happy to say that up to 80% of that money has been used to date. And and that's really, I was pretty shocked when I saw that they had used that much, and that the new students coming up have the opportunity to pick up and take off where the other students left off. But 80% of those funds have been used. Now, what's really encouraging to me is 18 of these program graduates have been hired to continue in employment at the Board of Water and Light. And the ultimate mark of success for me, other than the fact that we've had safe working conditions for all these students, no injuries, nothing like that, our mentors have kept them safe. We have 5 students, 5 of these graduates are in technical progressions or trades right now. And they're learning trades like instrument control specialist, which is one of the highest tech jobs in our company, working in our power and water facilities on all the instrumentation. So it's really gratifying to see them getting into the organization and then progressing as they move forward. And now to give you an overview of what the timeline looks like, it's fast approaching. On September 25th, we will have a student-parent orientation. And that orientation is a mandatory meeting. If you want to get into our program, you want to be able to apply and have a chance to be accepted into the program, then you have to be there, because that's the only place you can get an application packet. The application packet is pretty extensive too. They have to write an essay about what their plans are, what their goals are, what kind of things they want to accomplish. They have to develop a resume. They have to develop a working portfolio. They have to really make a working packet that they can take to other employers. I want to back up a half step and just say that we designed this program with our partners and the Board of Water and Light, put this together so it was work-based learning at every stage of the process. If you're not one of the final 10, you still have the opportunity to interview. If you're not one of the final 40 or so, you still have the opportunity to learn how to develop a resume and learn how to write a cover letter, which is tantamount to the essay that they write. And all of those students have a chance to go through job and employment screening and see how that works. So it's really designed to be work-based learning from the very beginning. Now, the application packets, of course, it says there they have to be submitted by October 18th, but then the first round of interviews are done at Michigan Works, and Teri is going to talk more about that. But it's kind of an interesting process that a lot of students haven't been exposed to, a different kind of interview, a behavioral interview. And then they go to, they're notified whether they come to the second round of interviews, so we're kind of filtering down as we go. And when they get notified to come to the second round of interviews, they're also invited to come on a tour of the organization. So they get to see the facilities, see where they might have a chance of working. And so another step in the work-based learning experience. It's a job tour, it's another interview, it's an opportunity to again, practice those skills. And then once the final decision is made, students are notified before Thanksgiving, so they have a chance to arrange their schedules and do what they need to do at school. And then they come to work in January, and they come to work, the first work is a week of pretty intensive training, safety training. They learn everything that our regular working employees would learn about confined space, hazardous materials, industrial safety, wearing personal protective equipment, all of those things that we require of them in working safe in our organization. And then the program continues on till May, and they work up to that time and just before their graduation, so it's perfect timing. Now I will say that you know how it is being I can barely remember it, but I can remember being a high school senior, and it was kind of fun to skip school, senior skip day, and spring break, all those things like that. We have these students come in as seniors, and we encourage them, if you want to be off, let your supervisor know it's okay, and they still have perfect attendance. Many of them will receive perfect attendance awards at the end of the program. Do you realize how important that is to an employer, to know that you're dedicated, that when you open your portfolio up at your job interview and you say, here's my resume, oh, by the way, did you know I worked at the Board of Water and Light? Oh, and by the way, did you see I had perfect attendance? That offers them another opportunity. So we really want to see these students shine from this program, whether they're selected to work at the Board of Water and Light or not. And then the program in action, you can see that they do the tour, the work-based learning experience through tours of the BWL, through interviews, as I talked about. So that's a picture of them getting off the school bus and entering one of our facilities, our line department, our fleet services. This is the inside of our water production facility. I want to let you know too, I said our union, IABEW Local 352, they have totally embraced this program. We have 40 trained mentors in our facility. Now, I want you to think about the 4 generations in the workforce today, the seniors, the boomers, the Xers, and the Ys. Well, these are all Gen Ys. And who do you think they get along with the worst? Say it again. Xers. Anybody else? I'm thinking about my 3 kids now. And the youngest one is a Y, and he has the worst relationship with me. And I'm a boomer. But he has a great relationship with his grandpa, a senior. Okay? So now we put the boomers and the Ys together, and we expect them to get along, you know? And when you hear the mentors come in when we do training, they're like, I can't believe this kid that's got thumbs going like this constantly texting. And one kid had a hard hat and had his phone under his hard hat. So he could text on breaks. We said, no, that's a no-no. So we've corrected all that behavior. We put the cell phones away. But still, it's interesting to watch the baby boomers and the Gen Ys mixed. And we have to do some special training for our mentors so they know how to relate to these young folks. Who, by the way, I think of my own, like I said, I think of my own kids, and we talk about why these kids today, what's ever going to happen to our civilization with these kids, you know, walking around, there's 5 of them in a group and they're all doing this. Well, I will tell you, my experience in working with these 57 students or so, they're the brightest, they're the most capable, they're responsible, they show up on time, they do their work, and they've got it over on me so far, it's not even funny with the technology. So it's a promising, bright future, I will tell you that. Program in action, a little bit more. The students begin working in their designated jobs. And as I said, they do the safety training, then they get out into the job site. And a couple of our students, we interviewed them after and said, so what'd you think? How'd you like your job? And the one kid said, it is cold. That's all he said. Because he had to be out working in the trenches, you know, with the water mains in the middle of winter and all that. And then, as I said at the end, this is our general manager shaking hands with a graduate of the program. And the kids all come together, and as I said, our executive team is so behind this, and they embrace this program and see it as their own. They congratulate these students. I mean, you're standing in front of a general manager now, and you're a high school senior, and you're thinking, wow, you know. And so they get their awards, as I said, perfect attendance awards, and they get congratulations, and they get their scholarships, and some of them stay, and some of them go on to bigger and better things. Now, I want to introduce Scott. Scott Miller's from the Lansing School District, and he's a superhero partner.
I don't know about all that. Good afternoon.
I'll run the clip.
I'm not used to working on Sunday afternoon. I don't know about all you guys. It sounded good when I volunteered for it until this morning when I got it. You know, I'm happy to be here. I'm in kind of a unique situation. I wear many hats. I'm a Lansing School District job placement coordinator, but I'm also a Michigan Works case manager. And that really technically how I'm paid. So I'm really a full-time Michigan Works person, but a Lansing School District employee. As I'm kind of listening to Dallas say some of these things about this program, I remember when, and for some of you who work with young people, we're always looking for any opportunities we can find with them. But I remember when we all sat down and planned this program and they told me their expectations, and I'm thinking of, sometimes I'm thinking of our students, I'm thinking, geez, I don't know if we can get them to do this and that, but you want them to be successful, so we're always out there saying, hey, we have some very special and some very bright young people, you just need to give them a chance. But when somebody does give them a chance, sometimes then we have to produce. So I will admit, we were a little nervous when this first came out. It's a very rigorous process for the kids. I'll just go over it. I'm going to be very brief here and introduce my our other partner here. But number one that we have to do, and this is the process, and it really goes quick. The school just started, as you know, last week, and the mandatory orientation is the 25th of this month. If they don't go to that, they're out. We kind of designed a program to eliminate students, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but we also designed the program so we're looking at students who are very serious about this. But the number one thing they have to do is they have to be there that night, and as you know, any date you pick, there's always going to be something that comes up. But we tell them there's no exceptions. You have to be there. We really want your parent there. We want parents there to buy into this. But we tell the student, if your parent can't be there, you have to be there. And it's okay if they aren't, and we can catch them up on that. So that's the first process, is they have to be there at the orientation. That's the only way they can get this application. And what we try to do through this whole process, and I can't begin to tell you how fair Board and Water Light. There's no situations where someone says, well, I have my son or daughter or this person. You have to go through the process. There's no picking favorites. It really is a fair process. So the first thing they have to do is get that application. There's no way to get an application without that. I take a few extras, but that's only if students make a mistake. If you're not on that original list, that you weren't in that orientation, unfortunately, they missed out. Then they have they have to have a 2.0 grade point average. I know that doesn't sound real high, but we have some of our students, and for some of you who work with young people, I have some extremely bright students who just barely had maybe a 2.0, but a lot of that has to do with they didn't get it when they were in 9th grade. They didn't take things seriously, and now it kind of catches up to them. And we do talk to 9th graders about that too. And we've also found out this program is getting some of our seniors and juniors to talk about young people, hey, don't mess up now in your 9th grade because it will come back and haunt you later on. So one of the things is they have to have a 2-point grade point average. We'd like them to be in an industrial or technology pathway. They have to be completed or enrolled in career tech or a program related. Lansing, unfortunately, we've lost a lot of our career tech programs, so a lot of times we just look at, sometimes it can be a math class, if they've had some personal experiences, maybe they work with their father, a neighbor, aunt, and uncle, some hands-on, that's a plus. It's all things that come out in their essay and their resumes. We do ask them, Board and Water Light's really serious about wanting to get employees for the future. We do ask them that you are going to stay in the Lansing, that you have plans to stay in the Lansing area. You know you're going to, as soon as you graduate, you're going to go to school on a state and probably never come back. We tell them this is a program for them. This next, and anybody, like I said, that have hands-on or skilled trades, it's easy for us. A lot of our kids, it's Lansing's an urban setting. They don't know what skilled trades are. As Dallas, and that's one of our jobs, is to hurry up and educate them in a hurry. And he showed you what a lot of the jobs were. They don't know what a lot of our kids don't know what these jobs consist of, and or what the jobs are. And because of that, they also don't know all the opportunities that afford these jobs. So that's kind of our jobs too, and it's a good way to expose them. I'm also a school registered apprenticeship coordinator for the school district, and we work in a lot of different hands-on jobs. So this gives us kind of an audience for the students. Hey, if you don't get selected for this, there's other opportunities. And we always kind of put that carrot out there, what some of these jobs make, and to get their interest. Drug-free, that's one of the obvious ones. And we tell kids, hey, if you know you're not today, you still got about 3 or 4 months before you get accepted in this program. You got a lot of time to pass that drug test. And then, of course, we also emphasize that that's going to be true in almost all workplaces and how important that is. The 4 hours a day, we have to have students who are able to be able to work this in the schedule. Other words, and as time goes on, there's a lot less elective credits, so they have to have pretty much the requirements taken care of by their second semester of the senior year. And so some students are eliminated right then because they know that they still aren't going to be able to have time in their work day, in their school day to do this. One of the things they asked for originally when we sat at the table is dependable transportation. And the first thing I did was raise my hand. I said, what do you mean dependable? Well, we'd like them to have a car, or a parent that has a car and get them there. I says, time out right here. I says, unfortunately, most of my kids don't have cars, and some of their families don't have cars. But they do know how to use public transportation, and they can get there. And that's held true, and a lot of kids don't have transportation, but they're very good at getting there, and they're getting there on time. Dallas, I can see him smile right now. I think of a young man the first year. He worked our morning shift. He was so serious about the job. He rode his bike when the weather was permittable. When the weather got too bad in the winter, he would walk, and he'd get there at 6 in the morning. He'd get there 45 minutes before he had to be at work, and they would tell him, Brad, why are you getting there? I don't want to be late. Well, you're 45 minutes early for work. I don't care. And he'd get there, and by the way, he's still with the Board of Water and Light, making about $10 more an hour than I do. But that kind of is what gets me excited. The work keys, that has been an issue for some of our students who don't. Board of Water and Light only looks at 2 areas. They look at the reading and math, and you have to have a 4, for those of you who are familiar with the work keys. They didn't just pick this arbitrarily number out, but the jobs that have to be done, they really thought this is what we need. And of course for those students if they want to continue and train. Sometimes our juniors, the way we do it in Lansing anywhere, they're tested a lot all that week, and the work keys is included in all the meet score, the meet test, and everything else they have to take. Sometimes at work keys they don't take it seriously, and the word's kind of gotten out for students who are in this program now that are juniors to take that a little more seriously. And what's really refreshing is we find out it's their peers that are saying this. It's not me saying this. So when they hear it from the peers, they listen and take to heart a lot more. What's nice is we do, and we had to, and that kind of stopped us sometimes from getting some students that we thought would be really good for the job, is maybe they had a 4 in reading, but they had a 3 in math. And the student would say, I don't even remember taking this. Well, we give the students, after they turn in their application, we give the students about 2 weeks, and I offer the test. We set up about 3 or 4 different times where they can retake that test. And Michigan Works has been a great partner with us on that, and they offer that test for our students. So they're able to take that test again. A lot of times they'll take it and get the score they need. Sometimes, unfortunately, they'll take it and not. And once again, that's another step in the process that they've eliminated themselves. Once again, the application process, they have to attend that first orientation. They have to develop a portfolio, and this is really quite an extensive portfolio. In the portfolio, I tell them, I want you to put something in there about yourself. If it can be any related to this kind of job, that'd be great, but if it's not, if it's sports, if it's something through your church, if it's something you got when you were younger, then put that in there. That just shows something about yourself that you think they would be impressed with. And it's amazing how many things they come up. Sometimes I'll get a young man, or a young lady that will have their varsity letter. You know, the varsity letter's about that thick. I said, that's kind of thick to put in there, but they want to do it. And like I said, we don't really discourage them from doing anything. And then we have all the other, this 4th one, the student commitment form, is something that we came up with as a team. And it kind of lists everything that's kind of expected of them, and just to get them thinking about what kind of commitment that is. And basically, when they get done, they're pretty much checking off, I will on everything, but it gets them thinking what's expected of them. We explain we tell them we want 3 personal references, and we explain what a reference is. It's, we don't want it to be a relative or a former job. And then we also have them do 2 recommendations from the school staff. Sometimes I get students that come up to me and say, I don't know any school staff is going to probably recommend me. I said, you know what? Go ask a teacher who you like. You'd be amazed. And I've never had anybody turn them down. And I said, most of your teachers will be honored that you pick them to ask. So that hasn't been an issue too, but once in a while they get a little nervous about that. They have to do a 500-word essay. Now, I run a workshop prior to when they turn in an application, and that's not a mandatory workshop, but I strongly suggest they go there, and I kind of give them hints on what Board of Water and Light are looking for. I don't tell exactly, because they have a regular rubric that they look at for their essay and for the application process, but I do tell them things that they need to be thinking about. Sometimes, like we all do, when we're trying to get something, we want to impress whoever we're going for, and sometimes students go, I want to be a doctor, I want to do this, and as soon as I graduate, I'm going to go to U of M, and after that, I want to do this. Well, that's kind of sometimes the students that Board of Water Light's not looking for, because if they know they have some very definite plans, and they're going to a four-year school, and then they're going to go into a career after that, or graduate work, that's not what they want. That's not what they look for. On the other hand, don't get me wrong, we have a lot of students who go on, that do this program, that don't continue with Board of Water and Light, and then go on to post-secondary, some type after that. And also ones that would have, but got this opportunity, and they decide they want to stay right there because they see how much more opportunity there is with the company too. And then they have to do a cover letter and resume. Probably one of the hardest things of my job is those students who go through this whole process that don't get picked. I have a real hard time, and I know they're going to be as good as any of the ones that get picked. I get feeling really bad, but it's interesting. I found out the students that I talk to don't usually, I mean, they're disappointed they have it, but I'll say, are you kind of upset that you went through all this, and then get, oh no, and they'll start saying to me, and it comes out, they'll start telling us how much they've learned from this process. And they say, I've never been in a professional interview. Because when they go in the interview, I mean, it's a panel. We talk about it sometimes, what we put them through is more than a new employee that's just gone through the Board of Water and Light. The process is they have two very professional interviews, they have a committee that looks at it. So it really is not, like I said, it really is a rigorous process. With that, Terry, I just wanted to say, I can't begin to say Board of Water and Light goes above and beyond and opens our arms to our kids. I mean, things that they don't have to do. And it shows with the kids and how well they want to do too. And with that, I'd like to introduce Teri Sands, our other partner with Michigan Works.
Thank you, Scott. And yes, I'm the Business Services Team Leader at Capital Area Michigan Works, and I've been helping the Board of Water and Light with this process since the beginning, so we're happy to share the word today. And Dallas wants me to remind you that he is willing to train any of your staff on this process if you are so interested that you want to implement something similar. So make sure that you let me know if you want to join in on that training. So Scott was just talking about what it takes for the students to be eligible. So once that they've turned in all those essays and portfolios, the essays are generally scored through a school like English teacher or something. So that would have been done before Scott hands those over to me. So he brings me all the essays and portfolios together. The essays already being scored. And the students call me to schedule their interview. I coordinate the interviewers and the interview times. It takes 2 interviewers at a time, sitting across the table from one applicant, so it's quite a few interviewers, but we're always happy to pull that together. And every interviewer has to be trained each year, so even if they've done it for me for all 6 years, they're still gonna need to come back again this month, and next month, and be trained once again, because the Board of Water and Light uses a very detailed process. It's a very structured behavioral interview, and so we need to make sure that everyone's refreshed on that again every year. The interview is such that the questions are determined in advance, so there's no just off-the-cuff questions or a follow-up question to something that someone might say. So the questions are determined in advance. Every student gets the exact same questions. The interviewers are taking copious notes, so sometimes that's new for the interviewers. And at the end, after the student has left the whole interview process, the 2 interviewers score the answer to each question individually. So there's a set rubric and a system for the scoring. They each do that separately, and then come and compare question by question. What did you score? What did I score? And have to come to an agreement. Not necessarily a compromise, but an agreement. So sometimes that can take a while, but it always goes back to the set rubric and the anchors that the Board of Water and Light provides, and that we go through that in the detail of the training. So then at the end of the interviews, then I score, take all those scores and figure out an average score for the student based on their essay and their interview. So they get an average of those 2 and turn all that back over to the board, and they decide who they want to bring to that second tour and or second interview and tour day that Dallas had talked about, and they'll make their selection after that, followed by a drug test and a background check, and then they make those offers that Dallas was saying that they let the students know before Thanksgiving. So again, the whole entire process is intentionally detailed. If you're thinking, oh, I wouldn't even get through this process, let alone a 17-year-old. It's intentionally detailed because, again, remember that stormy, foggy, whatever meteorological terms you used earlier, that whole reason it started was because the Board of Water and Light wants a feeder system into their long-term 30, 35 years, you were talking about that one guy, employee base. So if somebody can go through this whole process and there's somebody that we want in the program, they're likely going to be a good long-term employee for the board. So it's intentionally detailed. And with that, turn it back to Dallas.
Thanks, Teri. I told you they were great partners. They make my job a lot easier. Although when they hooked us into this, they said, you won't have hardly any work to do. And since that time, I've taken on a second job. Right? But anyways, it's a great and rewarding program. And I want to just highlight, so I want to make sure that you all understand that at the Board of Water and Light, from our executive team, who really put this program into motion, all the way to the frontline employees, the people that have embraced this program and working in our community, because we're a community-based organization, we're a municipal utility, so that means we're owned by the city. And so we work within our community to promote students in our community, and our slogan is hometown people, hometown power. And so we're kind of home-growing that hometown power, and that's kind of what we're all about. So I just felt like I had to say that, and the whole part about this being a rigorous process is some of these students, as I said, have never had the opportunity to interview for a job, have never had the opportunity to write a resume. So we teach them how to write a resume. In the packet, there's a description of how you do it. Here's a model. Now put your stuff in this model and create a resume. We teach them how to do that. Every step of the way, there's something for them to learn. And so that's important. And that was brought home by our partners, the educators and the people at Camwa and Lansing School District and at Lansing Community College. They really brought that home for us. We want to make this a real educational process from start to finish. And so I think we've done okay with that, and we're all pretty happy with how the program has worked for our organization. So we invite other organizations to do the same thing. We hired 10. Can you imagine if 100 organizations did something similar and each hired 10? You know, now we're talking about economy and starting to move things along. So, I know a picture's worth 1,000 words. We've already given you like 10,000 words, right? Has anybody been keeping count? Well, we want to show you a picture now of how the program works, okay? So I have about an 8-minute video that was produced by Media Services at Lansing Community College. And, I hope Eric's around. I think I just unplugged something. Yeah, I did. Just unplugged this. Should I try to plug it in?
Yeah.
Anybody? This is dangerous. You told me not to step on that cable, and I know now. It's got to play through here, so. Yeah, I got this jack right here.
Another difference between generations.
Exactly, you got that right. Mike.
How many people does it take to
Yeah,
plug in?
we got it. I think we got it. Perfect.
How many baby boomers?
No, you got that right. That's absolutely right. If my middle daughter was here right now, she'd be going, you are such a. Look at this, it's gonna work. Where'd you go? Where's Chris? You're awesome, man. Go back.
Board of Water and Light. It's a pleasure to be here today, and my name is Peter Lark. I'm the General Manager of the Board of Water and Light, or as we often call it here, the BWL. This is a program that we started about 5 years ago, and it's called the First Step Program. Try to work a program so they can earn some money for themselves. They can learn about the industry, and also they can get a scholarship to the Lansing Community College. So it's a great program from that point of view. It really helps out the students. But in addition to helping out the students, it's a big help and a big boon to the Board of Water and Light and all of our employees.
Show them what we do day to day. Like, really, I want to give them a good overview of what the career field entails. You know, this is what we do, this is how we do it. When I was actually first up student, my mentor kind of taught me what I needed to know, and then just kind of let me go. And then if I had questions, I'd come up and I'd talk to them about it.
I'm just going to be trying to help the student along, figure out what they got to do, like keep a job, get a job, show them certain things, like you got to be there every day. Give the best of your ability. If you don't understand something, ask the question as many times in different ways until you understand it correctly.
Our mentors are the ones that are stick by their sides day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute to ensure their safety, make sure if there's jobs they cannot do, that they're there to watch or assist by simply just handing them a tool. So far, I've done like so many things. I've helped build a scaffold. I've helped put like lining throughout a room. I've helped put up shades. I've helped split coal. Just a large variety of things. And I know every day there's going to be new things for me to do.
Basically, what I do is I walk around. I'm given an area, and I look at a shelf, find the product. I write down the item number, count it, put it back in its place.
Today I actually worked on the hydraulic pumps, I grease fittings, I took the keepers, I changed the teeth on the backhoe. Those are just some of the things we've done today.
Mondays and Thursdays we take out the trash. Tuesdays we grab the bathrooms, office trash, take out the gondola, the big trash container, the wheels, and roll out to the dumpster and take the trash out of the dumpster.
Okay, well first, gotta start with the shift supervisor, then I go to the D chef, which is the room that I lead up in, and then we normally talk about what we have to do, and we'll go turn some valves to turn on and off the machine. Then we'll go turn off the fan. A few fans that we turn off is an ID fan or FD fan.
Day to day, I clean mainly the lobbies and the break room, clean the bathrooms as well, and the office, keep stock of the cleaning products and the things that they need.
Here working at Board of Water and Light for the water distribution labor, go out, do either water bill cleansing, spray hydrant repairs, or pretty much whatever they tell me to do. So.
Normally I get here at 7 o'clock and I check in with my mentor, Dustin, and he gives me daily tasks. Normally it's just cleaning, but sometimes I help with the unloading of chemicals and whatever other duty he has that day.
But when I come in first thing, I go to the locker room, get my clothes, sign in, go up to the 7th floor, sweep the bunker room with the guys, and then take off to the plant, Erickson plant, Canal Road, and then we'll sweep the main room in there. We'll usually spud coal, and either sleep in another bunker room or washing different belts. It varies from day to day.
We work around like the whole plant, so we have to make sure we have our PPE on, and our hat and glasses, make sure we're safe.
Yeah, you have to be aware of your surroundings, and when you're turning the sharp corner with a big handle, you have to make sure no one's walking around the corner so you don't hit them.
My safety training has been a major factor in my day-to-day work, and I know which machines not to stay by. Even my mentors tell me when machines are on to stay away from them. So.
My safety training has really helped me be more aware of my surroundings and to realize what sort of environment I'm actually in and what are the hazards that go with that environment, you know, because you can be cleaning something, but then if the chemical can be heated, you should be aware of that. So that's really what my safety training is helped me with.
This is a really great opportunity. I'm extremely happy to be here, and anybody who gets the chance, I would take full advantage of the opportunity. It's still a great place to work, and you know, the process of application stuff is very tedious, but it's well worth it.
Just go after it. It's an excellent choice. You're going to be jumping way ahead of the game, because if you can actually get in here, it'll help with your schooling. You actually have a good job. And you could get a job here and then you can advance anywhere out through the plant, basically. You're already in it. Jump anywhere you want until you find something that makes you happy.
The advice I would give to beginners wanting to do First Step program, just do your best and just keep trying. If you feel like you're not doing the best, just ask anyone around. Make sure you're doing what you're doing right and just keep working hard.
I really enjoy working with the students. I think it makes me do my job better because I almost have to explain everything I do every day, or why you do that. It's been a great program. I've enjoyed it a lot.
This is a great opportunity, I think, to individual strive. Just do your best and keep your head up.
We get into the schools and we talk to the juniors coming up that are going to be seniors and to apply for this and get involved with this program. It definitely sticks with our slogan, hometown people, hometown power, because the students among the local area, they get the opportunity to see what we do on a day-to-day, so they get to see what it's like to come to the real world after school and see what we do, get themselves built up and for a career. The BWL is definitely helping these students become in their own, become leaders in the community. Really, the idea that we're working with the school system, we're working with the IBEW, we're working with LCC, and of course we're working with the BWL. It makes for a really good team effort that benefits everyone.
One slide left, and it's, do you have any questions? We're gonna forgo this. So, that's the program in a nutshell, and you get to see the kids in action. And it's really gratifying for me to see, and you notice Dustin and Marissa, the two young people in that that are mentors now, they were First Step students. So it's kind of a neat thing, now they're giving back to the next group of students that are coming in. So I think Dustin was 2 years ago, Marissa was 3 years ago, and Marissa is that apprentice instrument control specialist that's working in our water production facility right now. So she's a young woman who's an apprentice, who's learning a trade, who, by the way, says she wants to go on and get an engineering degree, and I think someday will run the company and maybe the world, you know. She's very, very bright individual. But you can see the kids giving back to the program. And so that's really gratifying to see. So I think that pretty much covered it for us. Do you have any questions?
With the wages and the scholarships, how are those supported?
The company pays for it. Our company, we budget about, the program costs us between $45,000 and $50,000 a year with wages and scholarships. and you know, odds and ends like training and the facilities for training and that kind of thing. So it's an investment, and it's really well worthwhile for our organization. So with 10 students, their wages and the scholarships, it's about $45,000. Question?
Yeah, you talk about partnerships. Could you describe the trades partnership for the apprenticeship for students? I know the $1,500 for college is one thing, but then the trades partnership is probably different.
You mean the IBEW, our union?
Yes.
Yeah, we went to our union president and the business manager, and they wholeheartedly embraced it. Now, I'll tell you at the beginning, a couple of we're talking boomers again now. They said, "And bring a bunch of kids in here? Aren't there enough people like me that need jobs out there?" I said, "Well, this is not a career. This is the beginning of a career, and you have the opportunity to help teach somebody." And so they tried it out with, and I'm talking about the membership now. The mentors tried it out, and now you saw Scott in there. Scott Campbell is one of the mentors in the fleet services area. He loves this program, and he asks every year, "When do we start again? You know, can I have 2 kids?" And so they have embraced it completely. And our union shop has done a great job with this. They offered us the jobs to put these students in. I said, you know, there were skeptics at first, but they see the value of it in the community and working with these young folks and helping them develop their talents, their abilities. So they're wholeheartedly embracing it.
Long term, how do you avoid them seeing it as a threat?
Long term, well, we still have our contract. We still have a collective bargaining agreement that we follow. So there are rules within that collective bargaining agreement about hiring and promoting and all that. So, you know, the students have a challenge to get into the organization and to get into those trades and those higher paying jobs. It's not impossible though, because some of them have done it. But there is a collective bargaining agreement that we abide by. That's a good question though, very good question. Because we had to talk about this in the beginning. Other questions?
First of all, very, very, to congratulate you on engaging in such a program, because it's a long-term investment, and a good one. Do you know of other utilities in the states, Michigan, that could do something like this? I'm not in the utility business, I'm in the aerospace business. We have a very similar chart. And what a lot of people don't realize is that 20 to 30% of the people in the airline business are going to be gone in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And so utilities, airlines, stuff that everybody takes for granted, we're going to see some real serious problems unless we get young people into the pipeline. And I was wondering, what about some of the other unions, or carpenters, apprentices, plumbers, and electricians? Have you folks worked with any of them?
I can talk. We had a school register apprenticeship, and we had, actually, they would actually come in and the construction trades. We had an agreement with the carpenters, the electricians, and when I say electricians, they have their own branch of the IBEW, but this was the IBEW for the whole Tri-County area. And it was electricians, it was the laborers, it was the plumbers, and it was the carpenters. And what they would do, and of course, sometimes those organizations, especially in the last 5 or 6 years, weren't hiring one person. Electrical had 220 people laid off. They would still come and talk to young people, but with school register apprenticeship, at one time we were putting 55 students on, and then when everything kind of bottomed out, that whole program ended. But those organizations still come into Lansing School District and have a program that they expose them to every one of those trades, and then they let them know about how you go about applying for an apprenticeship. And also, the one I didn't mention was the Operators Union in Howell, Michigan too, and so they would know about that. But a lot of those organizations still, right now to this day, are not hiring anybody, or will, like the operators just opening up, I think the first time in 3 years, for people to apply. Now that's everyone to apply, not just our program. Once again, the unions are a lot of times a lot harder nut to crack. What we're looking at also is any kind of company, union or non-union. We're trying to talk into a couple of the insurance industry we have in Lansing to model this same program, because this program could be modeled for any kind of of career. And then we would tell them, of course, you customize it to your needs. But it's a great start for them, especially when, once again, we can come in there as a school district or Michigan Works agency, but when another company comes in and talks about the success, that usually is what gets their attention.
I'd like to add on to that too. You know, any company could run a program like this, and it's kind of economy scale. You know, so if you're a big company, you could, and I consider us a large company. We're the largest in Michigan, municipal agency in Michigan. But there are other utilities that could run this. We have talked to other companies and had our American Public Power Association, which is a national group, come in and do an article on this program and kind of propose that out to others in the nation. Also, working within the state, we've talked to several other companies within our area. Now, the beauty part of a program like this is you gauge it to your need. We need skilled trades. We need technical people, technicians to work those instrument control jobs, that kind of thing. So that's what we gauged it to. But another company, as Scott was saying, like the insurance industry, what are their skill gaps? What are the jobs that they need to work on? So they could focus on that, their interview process, their selection process, because that's where it all starts. You know, I tell our managers, the manager's job is really to select right, to train and support. That's the crux of their job. And so selection is huge, and you can kind of tilt that to whatever your need is. And so we've laid out a model here that working with these guys, we could apply to many different situations. That's a great question too. Thank you. Sir?
Diversity, have you had any challenges with it? Has this been a source for more diverse employees coming into the company eventually?
Yeah, we actually have had no challenges with diversity at all. The Lansing School District and I think Eastern High School is one of the most diverse schools that I've ever seen. You know, there's people from all over the world that come there to go to school. And it's a very interesting mix, but we have had no issue. And our selection process, again, I have to go back to that and say, if your selection process is focused on the job and not on the individual, then diversity issues go away. Because you don't look at what a person looks like, you look at what they bring to the situation. And it's a better way to select individuals. And so we've had really good luck with it. And we reach out. We have one of our senior electricians and instrument control specialists in the organization is a woman. And she has two journey worker certificates. So she's a journey electrician and a journey ICS. She comes to our orientation to present to the students. And she says, she looks out into the crowd, she says, these jobs are not for the boys. They're for everybody. And the young women are listening because they're applying. And it's a great opportunity. So that's a great question too. We focus on making sure it's fair for all people.
Excuse me, we find a lack of awareness by students and their parents about opportunities in skilled trades. How did you all counter that? How did you bring initially? I mean, now it's a great established program, so I'm sure word is out.
Yes, go ahead.
This is one specific program, but that school registered apprenticeship, and you're so right. And that still is a huge challenge for us. For instance, when I would talk in front of a group of parents when we were recruiting for skilled trades, once again, you know, everybody in the room, I would start out with saying, how many of your students think are going to college? The whole room would raise their hand. Right. And my question would be, what are they going into? What kind of jobs? And then we would start, we call it apprenticeship the other 4-year degree. And then we would start giving some salary bases and training, and then of course, then that was our job to be able to go ahead and tell them what that apprenticeship model is a great model. These aren't all apprenticeship jobs. Some of them are apprenticeship jobs, some of them are apprentices, some of them aren't. Some of them you can really move up in the company without ever going through an apprenticeship too. But specifically what you were saying, the school registered apprenticeship, that is still a huge challenge for us, I know, in the Lansing School District. Unfortunately, what I was telling this gentleman is there's not a lot of opportunities. There's going to be, when all these baby boomers, when us finally do retire, there's going to be this huge lack of skills. And some of the unions that were more progressive understood that until until the last 5 or 6 years when the economy went bad. But even then, when we were putting 50 or 55 into jobs, and we had students that were, after 4 years, we were having students after 2 years. They were buying their own homes. They had brand new cars. We have some there with the Board of Monitors like that have their own homes at 21 years old. It's a great time, as you know, to buy a home, but they could actually afford it. But anyways, that's a great question, and we still fight that all the time about hands-on things, and not just the skilled trades, but all kinds of technical things. And we encourage, and sometimes parents would say, "Well, are you encouraging not? Are you against post-secondary education?" I said, "Not by any means. Some of these jobs will be 4-year bachelor's degrees or above, and some of them will be related training within an apprenticeship, which ends up being about a 2-year associate degree, along with 8,000 hands-on." I said, the difference is you get paid while you're going to school. You don't. How many of you are going to get paid to go to Michigan State? What's going to cost you? What kind of job you're going to have? So yeah, that is a huge, and it's a huge challenge. That's going to be for this whole country here too. But right now, unfortunately, it's hard to kind of address it when at the same time a lot of these areas that are going to have shortage, they're not hiring now. If they were all clamoring for jobs right now, it'd be different. But there is going to come a time sooner than later when that happens too. So.
And I can give you a brief answer to kind of a two-part answer for us. When we started out, the students didn't know that the jobs even existed at the Board of Water and Light. And I think that goes to the crux of your question. How do they find out about these jobs? Well, we went into the schools, and it was a little bit of a hard sell at first, because here I stand in front of an auditorium full of high school seniors, and they look at me and they go, "What? What kind of job? Well, that doesn't apply to me." And now we have students go with us to the school that are in the jobs. We have one of our operators in the progression who is going to be an operator A. I think he's going to be 24. He's going to be an operator A soon, able to run a power plant, making big dollars. And he goes into the school and says, "Hey guys, I was sitting where you are a couple years ago, and I didn't know these jobs existed, and here they are." And we lay out what the jobs are and what the opportunities are. And when we find out, they come to the orientation, the parent has the kid by the ear. "You are going to this orientation. You are going to sit here and find out about these jobs." No kidding. The parents come with them, and the parents have a lot of questions and stimulate the conversation. But it's a learning process. And now we're going into our 6th year, and the students that have been in the program are telling the next group of students, and they're telling the next group of students. So 9th graders are finding out about the program and saying, how do I get into that? So then the second part to that is we need to reach into the schools sooner. We need to reach into the schools and be job touring and shadowing when these kids are in middle school, as far as I'm concerned. So they get a broader perspective on what their educational opportunities are. And when the parent sits in the audience and says, "Well, I want my kid to go to college. I don't want him to be stuck in a factory their whole life." And I said, "Well, first of all, it's a power plant, and it's a dynamic process." I said, and second of all, I want your kid to go to school too. And so that's why in our trades, we require that they get on-the-job training and they do the related instruction at the community college. So they get a good foundation. So they get both, and they need both for these jobs. Is it? I guess that's 4:30. You guys have been a great audience, and I thank you very much.
Sorry, are you done?